A top AEW tag team has been left off the upcoming AEW Fight Forever video game, plus we have an upcoming in-ring return of a Ring of Honor champion, plus CM Punk explains his reasoning for why he called out Hangman Page on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, and Kenny Omega vs Will Ospreay is heating up. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, especially with everything going on right now. So let's get straight into another big story regarding a talent or talents that might not be too happy in AEW, especially after being left off or pulled out of, rather, the upcoming AEW Fight Forever video game. That being current Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions FTR are not too pleased and not too happy because they will not be, at least initially, on the upcoming Fight Forever video game. This is quite a big story that could lead to something even bigger in the future. Now, it appears that not every top AEW star will be featured in the new video game AEW Fight Forever. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler are not part of the first version of AEW Fight Forever. According to the report, FTR made it as far as the model phase of the game and were then subsequently removed from the game's roster by the spring of this year. Now, a source reportedly told Fightful that FTR was informed about being removed from the video game, and not surprisingly, they weren't too happy about it whatsoever. It was noted in the report that being in the video game would have come with a significant bonus, as is well known nowadays. That's why most talents want to be in there, especially, for the first time. They want to be in a game. See yourself in virtual form is a lot of fun, but also it comes with a significant amount of money of bonuses, licensing, etc. As noted over the weekend, Fight Forever was unveiled at Gamescom 2022 and it actually received an award. We'll talk about that in just a second. But the game is available for pre-order on Amazon, Target, and Sony. Now, it's quite significant that they've been left off of this video game. Why? Because they're holding a lot of championships at the moment and they're very successful. They're arguably hotter than they've really ever been in AEW because they currently hold 3 separate championships: the AAA World Tag Team Championship, the IWGP Tag Team Championship, and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship 2. Now, FTR, of course, have been the AAA Tag Team Champions since October of last year, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions since April of this year, and the IWGP Tag Team Champions since June of this year, winning those titles at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Now, Wheeler and Harwood will be teaming up with Wardlow against Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns, Impact Wrestling's Motor City Machine Guns, at the AEW All Out pay-per-view. All Out, of course, is slated for Sunday, September 4 at the Now Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Now, before I talk about FTR, I do want to talk about this award because AEW Fight Forever, there's a lot of buzz going on about it, when's it going to be released, etc. Now, earlier this month, of course, AEW released some footage of the game and announced it's available for pre-order, as I mentioned. But on top of that, Fight Forever was unveiled at Gamescom 2022, where it actually picked up a top prize. AEW Fight Forever won Best Sports/Racing Game at Gamescom 2022. AEW Games tweeted, quote, "A massive thank you for the recognition and to our awesome fans for always supporting us." Now, it must be said, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how you can win an award for a game before it's come out unless they've sent, I mean, again, I'm no game expert, so maybe I'm completely off on this, and if I am, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section below, but my assumption would be you submit it for someone, these people that, the people that decide this, the judges, as it were, they play the game and maybe they do it like that and then it gets voted on. I don't know. But nevertheless, I do find it quite staggering that a game can win an award before it's even come out. Nevertheless, congratulations to those involved in the development of the game. Certainly a lot of good buzz and PR for the game when it does come out. But I was surprised. I was very surprised to see FTR left off this game. I mean, we don't fully know, unless I've missed it, we don't fully know just how big this roster is on the game. You would assume it's considerable. AEW has a big roster, certainly, and certainly there's been a lot of discussion because this game's been in development for the last, 2 years or so, and during that period of time, AEW has signed a lot of wrestlers. So the assumption was that some of the wrestlers that have been signed more recently, are they going to make it onto the game? But FTR, they've been with AEW since 2020. They've been with AEW for nearly 2 years at this point, over 2 years at this point. So the fact that they were pulled from the game, and make no mistake, it's not as if like, oh, you came too late and it was already so far in development. They were in the early model stage of the game. They were in it. They were in the game, and for whatever reason, and I'd love to know what that reason is, for whatever reason, they were pulled from the game. And that feels... I don't know, I would be frustrated with that. And look, there's a lot of things that FTR have to be frustrated at when it comes to AEW. Of course, they're a really interesting case, Dax Howard and Cash Wheeler, because on one hand, they're having a lot of success, which is, from AEW. Of course, they won the AAA Tag Team Championships. Obviously, AAA has to make that call, but it was on Dynamite, and I'm sure AEW pushed for that as well. And I'm sure that AAA said to AEW, let's get the championships. We're going to drop them from whoever. Let's put them on FTR. We like FTR, okay. And they win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, which again, Tony Khan-owned company. So Tony Khan, of course, has faith and likes FTR because he's putting his belts on a tag team. You go, okay. The IWGP Tag Team Champions. Right? Obviously, New Japan has to make that call, but it's on an AEW-produced show as well. And Forbidden Door, and that feels like a big deal. But at the same time, when it comes to the AEW side of things, how long have they been the number one ranked tag team in AEW? Forever. Fight forever. They're going to be top of the list forever. And they're still yet to get that opportunity. I mean, we were promised, or it felt like we were building towards FTR versus the Young Bucks 2, or Young Bucks again, rather, not 2, but again, and it didn't happen. And there's been some, I've seen Jack say some things on social media about trying to avoid them or sabotage. I don't know when it comes to that backstage stuff in AEW right now, but is this the straw to break the camel's back and for them to leave AEW? Honestly, I doubt it. I think FTR is very happy doing what they're doing right now, honestly, because whilst maybe things aren't completely smooth on the AEW side of things, as I mentioned, they are doing work with AAA. They're doing work with New Japan now. They're gonna wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. I'm almost sure of it in January. When Ring of Honor really truly starts to get up and running, I expect them to be heavily featured into that. And we don't even really know where that show's going to sit. Chances are it's going to be on a Warner Media Discovery property, whether that's TNT, TBS, or even True TV. I don't know where it's going to land, but chances are it's going to land there. So they're going to be featured in. But I would also say, look, there was rumors, was it earlier this year, late last year, about WWE possibly being interested in bringing them back, and FTR didn't deny those rumors at the time. I found it very unlikely, especially under Vince McMahon. This is my big point of them not going back to WWE, is why would they go back to a company? And certainly a promoter, a head of creative, a CEO that doesn't like tag team wrestling. Vince McMahon, even though he's not in charge now, probably still doesn't like tag team wrestling. He doesn't see it as viable. In his mind's eye, he thinks, wait a minute, there's 4 people involved here, and you have to split that money, and I have to pay all 4 people. It's more profitable and economical if it's just 2 people. That's why he doesn't like tag team wrestling. It comes down to basic money. So that's why they left WWE in the first place. And they said, we'll put the belts on you again. You can become tag team champions once again. And they said, it doesn't matter. You can put the belts on us as much as you want. Tag team wrestling doesn't matter. It's not going to be in the main event. Could that change under Triple H? Anything's possible. This is the thing now. Anything is possible. Triple H, of course, was huge fans of FTR, the Revival in NXT. That's why they were NXT Tag Team Champions on a couple of occasions, right? That they've got their big start. They got put together as a tag team in NXT by Triple H. So anything's possible. I don't really know the situation when it comes to their contract. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, do I expect them to leave AEW? Do I expect them to go because of this? No. Do I expect them to end up in the video game? Yes. You have to remember, this isn't like back in the day when I was playing SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, or SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, or Just Bring It, or Here Comes the Pain, or SmackDown vs. Raw, any of those games, right? And even by SmackDown vs. Raw time, no. But my point being is that it used to be, you got the disc, that was the game. It's either good or it's bad, that's it. Nowadays, because of downloadable content, of course, games get released when they're nowhere near ready. They're nowhere near ready, but it doesn't matter because they can just put out a patch, update it. Oh, you can, you're getting tired of playing this game. We're adding new characters. New characters are going to be added on. So I expect FTR to eventually be put into that game, but you could argue they might not get the bonuses of all of those initial sales of the game as well, right? So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that, but certainly a surprising one, nevertheless. Speaking of AEW, though, and Ring of Honor, actually, one name that's set to return soon is the Ring of Honor television champion, one Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe could be returning to the AEW ring sooner rather than later, according to the latest report via PW Insider. Now, PW Insider reports that Peacock series Twisted Metal has now wrapped shooting, which means Joe could be returning to the ring soon. Now, based on the PlayStation video games, the series will see Joe in a dual role with Will Arnett as the character Sweet Tooth. Arnett is the voice, while Joe will be the physical appearance of the clown. The series stars Stephanie Beretz, Neve Campbell, Thomas Hayden Church, and Anthony Mackie too. Now, Joe, of course, last wrestled at the ROH Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view where he defeated Jay Lethal. He is the current Ring of Honor World Television Champion. He's held the title since defeating then-champion New Japan Pro Wrestling star Minoru Suzuki on the April 13 episode of AEW Dynamite. Now, after his WWE release on January 6, Joe signed with both AEW and Ring of Honor. He made his AEW in-ring debut on the April 7 episode of Dynamite. He won his debut match against the Acclaim's Max Caster and qualified for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. He made it all the way to the finals, of course, of said tournament, but lost to Adam Cole at Double or Nothing. Before his AEW debut, though, he made his debut and his return, shall we say, to Ring of Honor on April 1st at Supercard of Honor, where he saved Jonathan Gresham and Lee Moriarty from Jay Lethal and Sonjay Dutt. Again, it's going to be good to get Joe back. I mean, we're starting to get these people that were gone for a while. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, etc. return to the ring. Joe was never injured, of course. It was just a case of him, again, being away. And I've seen some ludicrous takes, it must be said. I've seen some absolutely ludicrous takes on social media over the last week or so, referring to Samoa Joe, and he wants to go back to WWE with the way he's being booked in AEW. He's not being booked in AEW because he's busy. He's been on a shooting schedule, which is, this is what is wild. People know he's been away shooting a TV series, and yet they just ignore that. They'll just say, I tell you what, he won't be happy with the way he's booked, Samoa Joe. I'm sure Samoa Joe's not going to be thrilled with being a champion and being featured in the tournament finals of a pay-per-view at this advanced stage in his career and being allowed time off to film movies and television series. Of course he's happy in AEW. Now, granted, of course, Samoa Joe has a relationship with Triple H, a very strong one, to the point of when he was released the first time by WWE. Triple H brought him back at the time when WWE was releasing people, and Triple H put his foot down and said, no, I'm bringing Joe back. I'm bringing Joe back to NXT. And even then, WWE eventually went, no, he's still going to be released because he got COVID. He wasn't actually injured. He got COVID, and then he was made a talent scout and all that kind of stuff. But clearly, he has a relationship with Triple H, and if Samoa Joe was still a free agent and he was still on the free agency list right now, maybe he would go back to WWE and maybe he would be wrestling again, or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd be back on commentary on Monday Night Raw. Maybe he would just be a talent scout again. There's a lot of if, buts, and maybes going on there. But the facts are he is signed to an AEW/Ring of Honor contract. He's the current Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Tony Khan has got him locked in. So all of these takes about he'd rather be here, he'd rather be there, who knows? Unless you can get into the brain of Samoa Joe, it's a pretty strange thing to say. And a lot of people have all of this confidence. Oh, definitely, this is what... I'm sure it's fine. He's wrestling. He wasn't doing that in WWE. He was out of action for a really long time. He's got a way reduced schedule, as well, it must be said, which he wouldn't have if he was in WWE, unless they figured out a similar kind of deal to he had in NXT, where he's not doing live events because he can't do live events anymore. Again, because his body clearly can't keep up to it. He can wrestle once a week, if that. And he's clearly going to be a big part of the Ring of Honor plans as well going forward too, because he's the television champion. So those people that are saying, oh, he'd rather be in WWE and now he's regretting signing his AEW contract, what a load of nonsense. Has Samoa Joe spoken to anyone about this? No. So I find that wild. But Joe is going to be returning soon. Now let's talk about CM Punk. Everyone's talking about CM Punk at the moment, aren't they, when it comes to AEW and his behavior recently? Well, Punk has given some insight as to why recently he called out Hangman Page and went off script, or shall we say, into business for himself. Now, a recent episode of AEW Dynamite saw CM Punk call out Hangman Adam Page while the former World Heavyweight Champion wasn't present. He was in the arena, but he wasn't scheduled to come out. It wasn't in the script. Now, subsequent reports claim that Punk went into business for himself, while AEW President Tony Khan did confirm that there is indeed some backstage tension between Punk and Page. Punk has since addressed the promo, claiming that it was all spontaneous. He said, quote, "I don't write stuff down, I just talk," Punk told Sports Illustrated. "That's one of the biggest things that's missing from pro wrestling. It's letting people go out there and talk if they know what they're doing. It can be magic." Now, Punk added that his main focus as a member of the AEW roster is to, quote, "make people want to see what happens next, regardless of how they get there. I'm trying to sell tickets to live events." Now, for a polarizing figure like Punk, of course, social media can be a battlefield for his fans, haters, and those who are indifferent on the former AEW World Champion. He said, quote, "Twitter is a bunch of people that don't really care about your opinion. They want to find like-minded opinions that share their worldview. I'm trying to tell stories, sell tickets, and get people to tune into Dynamite." Still, regardless of what the critics say on social media, Punk might say, Punk still has his focus on set on the statistics behind his comeback to pro wrestling. He feels there is a baseline to build off following a successful first year in AEW. Quote, "It makes the second year all that more exciting. Seeing all the business metrics tick upwards, that's why I was brought here." Now, has Punk been a success? I mean, we don't have time. We don't have 2 or 3 hours to discuss whether CM Punk has been a success in AEW. Every pay-per-view pretty much CM Punk has been on has been near enough record business for that pay-per-view. AEW has done some of its best business in the last 12 months that CM Punk has been a part of. Now, is that completely down to CM Punk? I don't know. I think that's due to a volume of several things, to be honest. I think that's Punk's part of that, clearly, but so are other talents, and so are, just over time. You expect to do better business over time as your brand becomes bigger and people are more familiar with your product. You expect more people to tune in. So, has Punk been a success in that sense? It's difficult to say because there isn't an end point as well at the moment. I would say on the whole, CM Punk probably has been a success. Has he revolutionized AEW in the way some people said he would? No, but I'm not sure he ever was, and I think those expectations were too high. As far as Punk trying to justify what he did on Dynamite by saying, look, I'm just trying to sell tickets, I'm just trying to get people talking. He got people talking, but make no mistake, CM Punk knew exactly what he was doing. And for him to say it was just totally spontaneous, that was very, very, very premeditated. Clearly, it was premeditated. He knew Hangman was back there listening, and most importantly, he also knew Hangman Page wasn't supposed to come out, and he wasn't going to come out. I don't know what kind of message it sends to the rest. You could argue it's a receipt, it's retaliation. I don't know. I don't think it's totally professional, but I hope it's the end of it, honestly, because whilst it might be compelling and whilst it might be great for people like myself to talk about it, it makes it awkward to watch and not in a good way, honestly. It's just typical pro wrestling drama that you don't really care for, really. Is it typical CM Punk? Absolutely. Absolutely. Finally, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay clearly is being lined up. They've had their social media beef for ages. It spilled over onto the dark segment of Dynamite last week. And Kenny Omega has jumped in this back and forth between Will Ospreay and Kevin Nash on social media. Now, Will Ospreay fired back at Kevin Nash, and Kenny Omega has chimed in too. Now, the WWE Hall of Famer took notice of a tweet that pointed out Ospreay's rate of in-ring success lately. The IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion has more 5-star matches in a month than CM Punk, John Cena, and Kurt Angle combined, according to a Twitter user. Now, Nash responded to the tweet and asked, quote, "How's his merchandise sales?" Ospreay subsequently replied and stated, quote, "Did you tear your quads writing this tweet? Ha 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 ha. What a great comeback," by Will Ospreay, using a meme from 2003 or 4. Ospreay, of course, recently competed in a buzzworthy match on Dynamite. He and Aussie Open defeated Death Triangle on last week's episode. Due to this victory, the United Empire representatives will face Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in the AEW World Trios Championship Tournament Finals on the August 31st episode of the show, of course, that being this coming Wednesday. Ahead of his bout, Omega took a shot at Ospreay, seeing Nash's tweet. He actually criticised the New Japan Star's merchandise sales, saying, quote, "Justifiably putrid, good sir," making reference to Ospreay's merchandise sales. As far as 5-star matches, I always do cringe when people start talking about that because they're one person's opinion. Dave Meltzer's opinion of what makes a good and what makes a bad match holds just as much weight as you watching this video. of what makes a good and a bad match. The people that hold them in high regard, I think, is ludicrous, because again, it's one person's opinion, honestly. And to try and imply that Will Ospreay is a better pro wrestler, because that's what that tweet is. That when it's saying, oh, he's had more 5-star matches in the last month than CM Punk, John Cena, and Kurt Angle combined, it's trying to imply that Will Ospreay is better than CM Punk, John Cena, and Kurt Angle combined, which on his best day, I mean, they're different kind of people, and it's what is your definition of a great pro wrestler. He cannot out-wrestle Kurt Angle. A prime Kurt Angle would eat someone like Will Ospreay alive. Now, make no mistake, a match between Kurt Angle and Will Ospreay would be fantastic. A match between Ospreay and John Cena would be fantastic. A match between Ospreay and CM Punk would be fantastic, because they're all fantastic pro wrestlers, but they're all different pro wrestlers as well. Now, honestly, you know, Ospreay's style is not my favorite style. I mean, I like high-flying stuff. I like Lucha Libre stuff to an extent. Some of the more choreographed stuff, like the opening he had with Rey Fenix, to me, I do look at when I just go like, I like my pro wrestling a little bit more old-fashioned, when you're looking like you're trying to hurt each other, not like it's a movie sequence. That's just me. I know for a fact that people way younger than me, the guys that are like 10 or in their early teens, would love Will Ospreay, because they're like superheroes come to life, right? It's not my thing. Doesn't make it a bad thing whatsoever. But clearly, we're going towards and heading towards Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay in a match at some point, aren't we? Nevertheless, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, and be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.